is Arielle Picard, and I'm the lead curator of the Wavelength section, and I am so thrilled to see such a full house tonight for what is an extraordinary and astonishing movie. Heaven Knows What is this is the North American premiere of Heaven Knows What, and the first time that Josh and Benny are showing their films in Toronto, and this is such a great honor for me, who has looked to their previous works. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that this film is available for the Walsh People's Choice Award, so if you do enjoy the film, please vote for it. There are boxes outside, or you can also vote online. We would really like to extend a great thank you to ICM Partners for providing us with this film tonight, so thank you very much. Before I invite Josh and Benny Safdie out on stage, I would just like to say that this was one of the last films that I saw before we closed the selection. We were just nearing that deadline, and one of the films came in, and I thought, okay, I should see this. And I did, and my heart raced probably from beginning to end, and I wrote sort of a crazy note and sent it to Cameron Bailey, and he responded, and he said, so you're inviting this film then? And I said, that would probably be a good idea. And I don't want to say too much about it, because I think you're going to be feeling some of the very similar feelings that I felt upon seeing it, and I think it's good to go into it blind, actually. But right now it's my great pleasure to invite Josh and Benny Safdie up on stage.
Thank you. It's an honor to be in Toronto. It's the first time bring the film to an English-speaking country. The film is filled, it should have a glossary. We should have put it underneath everyone's seat here. You see there's a lot of words here that I didn't know quite when I got involved in the project. And I'd like to invite on stage the stars of the film, Arielle Holmes and Caleb Landry Jones. Sebastian Bear-McClard. And invite Benny to open the door. Arielle Holmes. Caleb Landry Jones. And producer Sebastian Bear-McClard. And there's not much else to say. I just hope that scratching our itch scratches yours as well. This film is a miracle that it even exists, to be honest. So enjoy, and thanks again to Andrea and everyone at Toronto. Enjoy the movie.
Josh.
Hey, I'd also like to invite back up the cast, Arielle Holmes and Caleb Landry Jones, Director of Photography, Sean Price-Williams, Cameraman, Chris Messina, Iconoclast Films. You guys like to come up? Charles, Marie, Mariah, Nicholas. No, you want to stay there? Okay. Sean and Chris, come on.
I'd like to open it up to questions immediately, as I'm sure there are some. Is there any? If not, I will begin. Yes, over here.
Could you explain how the Safdie brothers met Arielle and how they came to be?
Sure, there's a long version and a short version. I haven't quite figured out how to fuse the two yet, so I'm going to give it a shot. We were developing a film in the Diamond District in New York City called Uncut Gems. It was a thriller that takes place in the Diamond District. We were doing very heavy research, spending time there, working there, infiltrating the street scene there. And one day at the end of the work day, I went into the subway. I was with Sebastian, and I saw Arielle just trying to swipe into the subway, and she was dressed kind of similar to the way she is right now. And I said to Sebastian, there goes the most beautiful girl in the world. And he said, go talk to her, get her in the movie, come on. And I said, all right. And it's never easy to ask somebody to be in a movie because you're naked, you're approaching them saying that you love them. It's a very romantic gesture. And I mustered up the courage. I said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about being in a movie. I assumed she spoke Russian, and she responded, oh, I kind of always thought about acting, or something along those lines. And I said, all right, well, let's talk about it some other time. Here's my number. Call me whenever you want. And a week later, I met up with her, and she was dressed very differently. She looked like a street kid, which made me feel at ease. I showed up with jewelry on and cologne, and I wanted to impress. I thought this was a Diamond District chick, so I said, all right, got to spend money. And I kind of realized quickly something else was at play here, and you were nodding out a little bit when I saw you, but you didn't know that. I kind of turned the corner. I was like, whoa, what's up here? And we sat down and had some dinner, and she admitted to me that she was homeless, and started talking to me effusively about this Ilya character, this mysterious boyfriend that she had, who was constantly in her, talking to me like I knew him, and very cult-like. And I'm very attracted to cult-like figures. So we started talking, and then we would meet and we'd say, oh, maybe we'll find a role here for you. I don't know, you're a little young. She was 19 when I met her. This was last year, May. And then got her a friend of ours, photographer named Richard Kern, loved her as well and said, hey, I'd like to put her in this music video. It pays. And she said, oh, I'd love to do it. And then he said she didn't respond. She's not showing up now, and I don't know what's going on. And I said, let me try her. Her phone is disconnected. And didn't hear from her for a couple weeks, and I figured, some people just disappear. Let's see what fate has to say about this. And she called me a couple weeks later on a payphone saying, hey, Josh, it's Harry. I said, oh, Harry, what the fuck happened to you? Got you this job. It's well paying. Richard Kern's an amazing photographer. You're blowing it. You're blowing it. And she said, I'm so sorry. I just got out of the hospital. I'll tell you all about it. Can we meet up? I said, all right, sure. Met up with her. She had a bandage on her arm. And she said, hey, I tried to kill myself. I was in Bellevue Hospital. And kind of took over my life kind of from there. Started to meet with her regularly. And she started to write about her life. And then once the writing came in, the writings were very cinematic and very detailed, beautiful, very well written and original. And, Ronnie, as a co-writer on the project, saw these pages coming in, and there we just dove into heaven knows what.
It's funny you say that, because this is a story that you could see many times. It's a subject matter that's talked about a lot, but the things that Ari chose to focus on, the people that she would write about, the way that she would describe them and everything, that's kind of what grabbed me when Josh first showed me. We were dealing with somebody who was a very astute person who was looking at things that not everybody would look at.
Slowly introduced the idea of filming, acting, brought actors from LA over. We shot over Christmas with Ari, with someone else to maybe play Ilya, and one at a time introduced a new component of filmmaking to her life. But it was very apparent immediately that the camera loved her. I remember Sean at one point after doing a camera test, he said to himself, "Oh God, she's beautiful," and that was when I kind of knew that cinematography, aesthetically, the film was going to work in some strange way, because obviously you have to love your movie stars, and that's the most important part. Is she's a star.
A lot of
I don't think we ever once talked about boundaries.
Yeah,
I don't think it was ever thought in any of our heads.
All right.
What does that mean?
but there were discussions not about boundaries, but about how things would be depicted. Because we didn't want it to be this kind of romantic escapade in this world. We wanted to look at it as it was.
The trouble is that it is a romantic escapade. People get into drugs, for psychological reasons, and you fall in love with the drug, and just as you fall in love with a person, couldn't ignore that as well.
Yeah, that's that both sides mixing.
East Out to Meet music. Yeah. That's Debussy, realized by a Japanese musician, composer, East Out to Meet.
We always had a certain idea, and then Ronnie's like, I know the perfect thing, and then he played this music.
We wanted an opera vibe, but in kind of like we always consider any movie sci-fi in some degree. And it's just like an alien landscape, in certain levels. You're meeting all these different people. The casting director likens the movie to Wizard of Oz all the time. You meet the Tin Man, Mike, and Oz.
Also the lion.
And the lion as well. So we wanted to immerse ourselves in this grandiose, romantic music, and you can't get any more romantic than Debussy. But then you have this kind of spaceship vibe with South to Meet.
Yeah, it's those two things working against and with each
I'm not familiar with that movie, but it's funny because a lot of times me and Buddy would compare heroin addiction to vampirism. Like you crave this thing and you need it, or else you'll get really sick. And that's why we both fell in love with the movie Interview with the Vampire.
Tilda's got nothing on her. Yeah, we were usually pretty far away. It was the two of us. We almost always had two cameras going. Sometimes he was across the street or in the median hiding, and it was winter, so we all had coats and everybody was bundled up, and I don't know, people were bigger than normal, and maybe a big camera wasn't as obvious. But yeah, we were always using, especially in the street, always as far away as we could get. We had some really big, fat, old lenses. Everything was an old lens because we don't like HD. They would be shooting this on film if that was a possibility at all, but it wasn't financially, and so we were just making it look acceptable to us, and we had many layers of glass in front of the lenses, unnecessary filters, clear glass, anything to stuff with grease on it and everything just to kind of soften it even more. But yeah, we were hiding sometimes, sure. Yeah, often, and even when we weren't hiding, we could be as far as these water bottles from her with a big camera and everything, and somebody would be walking by and still just give her money. Yeah. Talk. I mean, people are kind of oblivious in that neighborhood. I used to live there, but yeah.
See that in some of the gauzes. All right. Any other questions?
You mean now? In the movie.
What's the
I
question?
mean, I'm still pretty crazy, but yes. No, and I'm not on that drug anymore. Thankfully. That drug, 17. 19, 20.
Writings are incredible, and I really urge all of you when it's available to read it. reuse or adapt because of time differences and characters and whatnot. And I really urge all of you to, when it's available, to read it because it's 10 times better than, as always, the book is better than the movie. But movies are different things.
One other thing kind of about that, like we were shooting in the neighborhood where she was, and we would have people walking by that knew their faces. Sometimes they would come up to us and wonder what if we were shooting them, like, you know, without their permission, or if they were, what our relationship was, because they knew they were real street kids. And so that was an interesting thing that we were always thinking about. And also, she was incredible. She wasn't just, you know, passively performing. She was working. She was absolutely
even in the film
focused, performing. It was, I mean, it was really incredible what was happening. But it was like this. I mean, we were even confused very often. What was real? What was, you know? It was really impossible.
And Caleb, who transformed into Ilya, there was many people who aren't in the film who knew Arielle, who would come up to him and start a fight with him because the real Ilya offended them 2 days earlier. So he got into a full-out brawl with somebody in the bandshell scene later that night, and we didn't know what to do. I mean, we filmed it just because it was a weird social experiment. We didn't use it, but they literally, we couldn't pry. This guy kept saying, like, "Why did you do that to me?"
Sometimes it looked like they were about to have sex, though, too. It was like I couldn't know if they were fighting or.
It's weird because with the basis of reality, you kind of watch this and you think, okay, this is all real. When we went out of our way to really make this completely fictional, even with the camera, we went so far in the other direction to make it so hard for us and for the actors. But in the end, what you get is this kind of real feeling because of the performances. And I think it's a remarkable thing to see.
And we would have a conversation where Arielle would say, "Well, that's not how it happened." And we would have a philosophical conversation as to sometimes reality doesn't actually give you the feelings of life, and instead, C-SPAN. There's someone in the audience here, Ted Barron, who talked to us about. You show C-SPAN, which is ultimately the most real you can get. There's no feeling there. You don't feel life in that moment. And we talk about how sometimes you have to change things to get to how it feels.
And Ronnie actually never met anybody because he wanted to keep it objective. He didn't want to be kind of held down by the realism of it because we wanted to have the freedom to make bigger statements.
Standard.
Well, when we were filming, and I don't really know how to describe it. It was, I was still living that lifestyle, so it wasn't really anything much different. There was just cameras around. There was, there's definitely things that, either hadn't happened or, even things that were what actually happened or very close to it, recreating those scenes. I always thought it would be strange, but it was different because I wasn't, even though it actually happened to me, I wasn't in that moment anymore. So I had to resummon all these emotions and kind of recreate something new. But I don't know, throughout all of it, seeing the film and rereading my writings recently just gives me a lot of perspective on my life and myself. And now it is moving fast. It's pretty surreal. I can't really wrap my head around it yet. It's just I find it insane that I just happened to meet Josh one day on the corner of 47th Street in Manhattan. Now I'm here. Thank you.
Do we know when? Maybe possible to have a more casual conversation out in the lobby. And
urge you all to recommend this film. It's coming again tomorrow night at 10 p.m. in Scotia, and then again next weekend. So thank you all for coming. Thank the entire team for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.